Drill Sergeant Xylorp stood at attention, his three eye stalks twitching nervously as he watched the approaching transport ship. The vessel, emblazoned with the Galactic Federation's insignia, touched down on the landing pad with a gentle hiss. Xylorp's antennae quivered with anticipation and a hint of dread. "All right, you gelatinous excuses for sentient beings," he bellowed to his fellow drill sergeants. "Today's the day we get our first batch of Deathworlders. May the cosmic deities have mercy on our souls, or whatever passes for souls in your species." A chorus of nervous laughter rippled through the group. Sergeant Blorp, a amorphous blob of purple goo, burbled anxiously. "I heard they can survive in gravity that would turn us into pancakes. Flat, useless pancakes." "Oh, come off it," Xylorp scoffed. "Next you'll be telling me they drink poison for fun." The transport's doors hissed open, and a group of bipedal creatures sauntered out, their faces split into what the sergeants could only assume were expressions of maniacal glee. The humans, for that was what these Deathworlders called themselves, looked around with an air of amusement. Well, drawled one of the humans, a tall female with fiery red hair. "If it isn't the welcoming committee, why all look like you've seen a ghost. Or do your species even have ghosts? Asking for a friend." Xylorp's middle eye stalk twitched. "Welcome, cadets, to the Galactic Federation's elite training facility. I am Drill Sergeant Xylorp, and for the next standard week, I will be your worst nightmare." The humans exchanged glances and burst into laughter. Xylorp felt his exoskeleton crawl with unease. "Oh, honey," the redhead said, wiping a tear from her eye. "You clearly haven't met my ex. Now that was a nightmare." Another human, a stocky male with a buzz cut, chimed in. "Yeah, and have you ever tried to assemble IKEA furniture? Now that's a week-long ordeal." Xylorp's patience was wearing thin. "Enough. You will address me as sir and speak only when spoken to. Is that clear?" The humans straightened up, their faces suddenly serious. "Sir, yes, sir," they chorused with such volume that Sergeant Blorp nearly liquefied in shock. "Better," Xylorp grumbled. "Now, let's begin with a simple warm-up. You will run 10 laps around the training compound. This should take you approximately 2 standard hours. Begin." The humans looked at each other, shrugged, and took off at a speed that made Xylorp's eye stalks spin. Within minutes, they had completed the first lap. "Impossible," muttered Sergeant Grex, a spindly insectoid. "They must be using some sort of performance-enhancing substance." Xylorp watched in disbelief as the humans completed all 10 laps in under 15 minutes, barely breaking a sweat. "Well, that was a nice jog," said the buzz-cut human, stretching casually. "What's next, sir?" "A leisurely stroll through a volcano." Xylorp's exoskeleton turned a shade paler. No volcanoes. "Next, we have the obstacle course. It's designed to test your agility, strength, and problem-solving skills. The current record is 3 standard hours." The humans grinned at each other. "Race you to the finish line," the redhead challenged her companions. What followed was nothing short of a spectacle. The humans leapt, climbed, and swung through the obstacle course with a grace that seemed to defy the laws of physics. They worked together seamlessly, helping each other over walls and through tight spaces. "Did you see that?" Blorp bubbled excitedly. The small one just used the tall one as a springboard to clear that electrified fence. "Forget the fence," Grex chittered. "That one just punched through the reinforced steel wall instead of solving the puzzle to open it." Xylorp watched in a mixture of awe and horror as the humans completed the obstacle course in a mere 20 minutes. They gathered at the finish line, high-fiving each other and laughing. "That was fun," exclaimed a wiry human with glasses. "Reminded me of that escape room I did last weekend, though the lava pit was a nice touch." Xylorp's eye stalks drooped in defeat, but there was no lava pit. The humans exchanged mischievous glances. "Oh, really?" said the redhead innocently. "Must have been our imagination then. So what's next on this thrilling agenda?" Trying to regain some semblance of control, Xylorp straightened up. "Next, we have the endurance test. You'll be required to carry heavy loads through a simulated harsh environment. This exercise usually takes up to 6 standard hours." The buzz-cut human cracked his knuckles. "Sounds like a typical day at the gym. Bring it on, sir." As the humans charged into the simulated harsh environment, Xylorp turned to his fellow drill sergeants. "Is it just me, or are these Deathworlders actually enjoying this?" Blorp oozed nervously. "Maybe we should increase the difficulty?" Turn up the heat, add some toxic gas. Are you insane? Grex hissed. They'd probably breathe it in and ask for seconds. Meanwhile, the humans were making short work of the endurance test. They jogged through sandstorms, scaled ice walls, and waded through swamps, all while carrying loads that would have crushed most other species. Hey Sarah, the wiry human called out to the redhead. Remember that time we went camping in Australia? This is just like that, minus the drop bears. Sarah laughed as she effortlessly climbed a sheer cliff face. Oh please. This is a walk in the park compared to Black Friday shopping. In just under an hour, the humans emerged from the endurance course, covered in mud, sand, and what appeared to be the remains of some carnivorous plants. They were grinning from ear to ear. That was a hoot and a half, exclaimed the buzz-cut human. Though I gotta say, those man-eating plants need to step up their game. I've had salads more vicious than that. Or Zagzylorp's jaw, or what passed for a jaw in his species, dropped. But that's impossible. You shouldn't have been able to complete that course in under 6 hours, let alone one. The wiry human shrugged. Well, sir, you know what they say, time flies when you're having fun. And boy, were we having a blast. Zagzylorp felt a headache coming on, which was quite a feat considering his species didn't have a centralized nervous system. Fine, let's move on to the next exercise. We'll test your survival skills in a simulated alien environment. The humans perked up at this. Ooh, sounds exciting, Sarah said. Will there be strange plants to eat, weird creatures to befriend or fight? Yes, Zagzylorp replied, somewhat taken aback by their enthusiasm. The environment will be hostile and unpredictable. Your goal is to survive for as long as possible. The buzz-cut human cracked his neck. Sounds like spring break in Florida. Let's do this. As the humans entered the simulation chamber, Zagzylorp and the other drill sergeants gathered around the monitoring screens. What they witnessed over the next hour was nothing short of miraculous or terrifying, depending on your perspective. The humans not only survived but thrived in the alien environment. They quickly identified edible plants, fashioned tools from seemingly useless materials, and even managed to domesticate some of the more aggressive fauna. Did that one just punch a venomous creature into submission? Grex asked, his mandibles clicking in disbelief. Forget that, Blorp gurgled. Look at the small one. He's cooking the acidic plants and eating them. Zagzylorp watched in stunned silence as the humans turned what was supposed to be a grueling survival exercise into something that looked suspiciously like a camping trip. They had built a shelter, started a fire. How they managed that in an atmosphere with minimal oxygen, he'd never know, and were now sitting around swapping stories and laughing. After an hour, Zagzylorp decided he'd seen enough. He activated the comm system. All right, cadets, you can come out now. The exercise is over. The humans emerged from the simulation chamber, looking refreshed and cheerful. Oh, already, Sarah pouted. We were just about to roast some marshmallows on the volcano. Zagzylorp's eye stalks twitched violently. There was no volcano in that simulation. The wiry human grinned. There is now. Dave here got bored and decided to do a little geological restructuring. Quite the handyman, our Dave. Dave, the buzz-cut human, took a bow. What can I say? I like to keep busy. Zagzylorp felt like he was losing his grip on reality. But, that's not possible. You can't just create a volcano. Sure you can, Dave replied nonchalantly. All you need is a little ingenuity, a lot of pressure, and a spark of madness. It's like my old geology professor used to say, where there's a will, there's a magma way. The other humans groaned at the pun, but Zagzylorp was too flabbergasted to even notice. He turned to his fellow drill sergeants, who looked equally shell-shocked. What do we do now? Blorp bubbled anxiously. We've run out of exercises and it's only been 3 hours. Grex's antennae drooped. Maybe we could ask them to do everything again, but slower this time. Zagzylorp shook his head. No, we need to think of something challenging, something they haven't seen. Before he turned back to the humans, trying to muster what little authority he had left. All right, cadets, your next task is... Yes, sir, Sarah prompted, an amused glint in her eye. Your next task is to create a comprehensive report on the strengths and weaknesses of our training program, Zagzylorp blurted out, feeling quite pleased with his quick thinking. Surely this administrative task would slow them down. The humans exchanged glances, then shrugged. "All right," said the wiry one, "but fair warning, we're going to need a lot of red pens." What followed was perhaps the most brutal and efficient dissection of a training program in the history of the Galactic Federation. The humans worked together like a well-oiled machine, analyzing every aspect of the exercises they'd just completed. "You know," Sarah mused as she typed furiously on a datapad, "these obstacle courses would be great for kids' birthday parties. Just need to add some balloons and cake." Dave nodded thoughtfully. "And that survival simulation? Perfect for a corporate team-building retreat. Nothing brings coworkers together like facing certain death." The wiry human, whose name turned out to be Alex, was creating detailed diagrams and flowcharts. "I think we could streamline this whole program. Cut it down from a week to, say, a long afternoon. Maybe add a pizza break in the middle." Zizlarp and the other drill sergeants watched in mute horror as the humans systematically pulled apart every aspect of their carefully designed training regimen. They pointed out logical flaws, suggested improvements, and even proposed entirely new exercises that made the original ones look like a walk in the park. "And there you have it," Sir Sarah said, handing over a stack of datapads to Zyglarp. "Our comprehensive report, complete with a 5-year improvement plan, budget projections, and a few design sketches for a mascot. We were thinking something along the lines of a cute, but slightly menacing, gelatinous cube." Zyglarp took the datapads numbly, his eye stalks scanning the information in disbelief. This is actually quite impressive," he admitted reluctantly. "Thanks," Sir Alex beamed. "We aim to please. So what's next on the agenda? We've still got, about 23 hours left in this week-long course." Zyglarp looked at his fellow drill sergeants, who all shrugged helplessly. He turned back to the humans, his mind racing for something, anything, that might challenge these Deathworlders. "Well," he said slowly, "I suppose we could move on to the advanced training modules. They're usually reserved for the final day, but since you've completed everything else." The human's eyes lit up with excitement. "Advanced modules? Now you're talking," Dave exclaimed, cracking his knuckles. "Bring it on, sir." What followed was a blur of activity that Zyglarp would later have trouble fully recalling. The humans tore through advanced combat simulations, mastered alien weaponry in minutes, and even managed to improve upon some of the Galactic Federation's most sophisticated technology. "You know," Sarah said casually as she reassembled a plasma rifle blindfolded, "this reminds me of that summer I spent interning at a tech startup, except with fewer snack breaks and more explosions." Dave, who was in the middle of a hand-to-hand combat session with the training drone, nodded in agreement. "Yeah, and remember that escape room we did last month? This is like that, but with actual lives at stake. Much more relaxing." Alex, meanwhile, had somehow hacked into the training facility's mainframe and was rewriting some of the simulation protocols. "Hope you don't mind, sir," he called out to Zyglarp. "Just fixing a few bugs and adding some extra features. You'll thank me later." Zyglarp, at this point, had given up on trying to understand or control the situation. He simply watched, along with the other drill sergeants, as the humans blazed through years' worth of advanced training in a matter of hours. As the final simulation ended, the humans gathered around Zyglarp, looking expectantly at him. They were barely winded, their eyes shining with the thrill of the challenges they'd just overcome. "So," Sir Sarah said, a hint of a smirk on her face, "what's next? We've still got about 18 hours left in this week-long course." Zyglarp looked at his fellow drill sergeants, who all wore expressions of utter defeat. He turned back to the humans, took a deep breath, and said the only thing he could think of. "Cadets, I think it's time we had a little chat about the concept of taking it easy." The humans burst into laughter, the sound echoing through the training facility and sending shivers down the spines or equivalent structures of every non-human within earshot. "Take it easy," Dave chuckled. "But sir, we were just warming up." "Yeah," Alex chimed in, wiping tears of mirth from his eyes. "This is us taking it easy. You should see us when we're really trying." Zyglarp felt a wave of existential dread wash over him. "You mean, this wasn't your best effort?" Sarah patted him on what she assumed was his shoulder. "Oh, bless your heart. No, this was just a light workout. But don't worry, we had fun." The other drill sergeants had begun to back away slowly, as if afraid the humans' capabilities might be contagious. Blorp had actually started to melt into a puddle of anxious goo. Zyglarp looked at the training facility around them. In just a few short hours, these Deathworlders had completed a week-long course improved upon years of carefully developed training protocols, and casually rewritten the laws of physics at least twice. And they did it all while cracking jokes and treating it like a mildly entertaining day out. He realized, with a sinking feeling in all three of his stomachs, that the Galactic Federation had no idea what they'd gotten themselves into by recruiting these Deathworlders. "All right, Cadet Xylorp said, trying to keep his voice steady. "I think it's safe to say you've exceeded our expectations. Perhaps it's time we discuss your future roles in the Galactic Federation." The humans perked up at this, their eyes glinting with a mixture of curiosity and mischief that made Xylorp's exoskeleton crawl. "Ooh, are we getting our assignments already?" Sarah asked, bouncing on her toes. "I was hoping for something challenging, like negotiating peace treaties with warring planets or terraforming inhospitable worlds. Just a little side project to keep us busy." Dave nodded enthusiastically. "Yeah, or maybe some deep space exploration. I've always wanted to see what's beyond the edge of the known universe. Could be fun for a weekend trip." Alex adjusted his glasses, looking thoughtful. "Personally, I wouldn't mind tackling some of the Federation's unsolved scientific mysteries. Dark matter, unified field theory, faster than light travel without causing temporal paradoxes. That sort of thing. Just to get warmed up, Xylorp stared at them, his eye stalks twitching erratically. He turned to his fellow drill sergeants, hoping for some support, but found them in various states of shock and disbelief. Grex had curled into a tight ball, his exoskeleton rattling softly. Blorp was still a puddle on the floor, occasionally forming a bubble that popped with a quiet, despairing bloop. Taking a deep breath, Xylorp faced the humans again. I think we may need to reassess our entire approach to integrating Deathworlders into the Galactic Federation forces." The humans exchanged glances, then burst into laughter again. "Oh man," Dave chuckled, wiping a tear from his eye. "The look on your face, or faces. I'm not sure how many of those are considered faces. Anyway, it's priceless." Sarah grinned, patting Xylorp on what she hoped was a comforting spot. "Don't worry, sir. We're just messing with you. Mostly. We know we've got a lot to learn about how things work in the big, bad galaxy." Alex nodded, his expression becoming more serious. "That's right. We may be quick learners and, well, apparently terrifying by your standards, but we're not here to take over or anything. We genuinely want to help and be part of this grand galactic community." Xylorp felt a small flicker of hope. You do." "Of course," Sarah exclaimed. "Why else would we join? Well, aside from the cool spaceships and the chance to see things that would make most of our species faint from sheer awe." Dave grinned. "Yeah, and let's not forget the opportunity to try cuisines from across the galaxy. I hear there's a planet where the food actively tries to escape while you're eating it. Now that's what I call dinner and a show." Xylorp found himself relaxing slightly. Maybe these Deathworlders weren't so bad after all. Terrifying and incomprehensible, yes, but not malicious. "Well," he said, straightening up and noticing with some pride that only one of his eye stalks was still twitching, "in that case, perhaps we can work together to design a more appropriate training regimen for future Deathworlder recruits." The human's eyes lit up with excitement. "Ooh, can we add a zero-gravity obstacle course?" Sarah asked. "How about a multi-dimensional puzzle-solving challenge?" Alex suggested. "And definitely some kind of interspecies cooking competition," Dave added. "Gotta make sure we can whip up a decent meal no matter what ingredients the universe throws at us." As the humans eagerly discussed increasingly outlandish and terrifying training ideas, Xylorp felt a strange mix of dread and exhilaration. The Galactic Federation was about to enter a new era, and these Deathworlders were going to turn everything upside down. He glanced at his fellow drill sergeants, who were cautiously beginning to recover from their shock. "Well," he said with a resigned sigh, "I suppose we should inform High Command that we're going to need a bigger budget, and possibly some reinforced training facilities, and maybe a few therapists." Rex, who had finally uncurled from his ball, chittered nervously. "Do you think it's too late to request a transfer to a nice, quiet desk job?" Blorp, reforming into a vaguely humanoid shape, burbled in agreement. "I hear the bureaucratic slime mold division is always hiring. Sounds delightfully boring compared to this." Xylorp shook his head, watching as the humans began to sketch out plans for what looked like a training course that defied several laws of physics. "No, my friends, I have a feeling the whole galaxy is about to become a lot less quiet. We might as well be on the front lines." As if to punctuate his point, there was a sudden explosion from the direction of the simulator room. The humans looked up, startled, then burst into sheepish grins. Sorry about that, Alex said, rubbing the back of his neck. I think I might have left a few subroutines running in the mainframe. Don't worry, though. I'm pretty sure I can fix it. Might even make it better than before. Xylorp watched as the three humans rushed off to deal with whatever chaos they had inadvertently, or perhaps intentionally created. He turned to his fellow drill sergeants, a wry smile forming on his face. Well, gentlemen, he said, I believe the appropriate human phrase for this situation is buckle up. It's going to be a wild ride. With that, the alien drill sergeants steeled themselves and followed their human charges, ready to face whatever insanity the universe had in store for them. After all, with these Deathworlders around, life in the Galactic Federation was about to become a lot more interesting, and possibly a lot more explosion-filled. As they walked towards the smoking remains of the simulator room, Xylorp couldn't help but chuckle. He had a feeling that the next batch of alien recruits were in for quite a surprise when they arrived for their standard week-long training course. Little did they know, thanks to their human predecessors, it would now include activities that would make even the most hardened space veteran question their life choices. But that, as the humans would say, was a problem for another day. Right now they had a simulator to rebuild, and possibly an entire training program to revolutionize. Just another day in the life of a Galactic Federation drill sergeant in the age of human integration. The end. Or perhaps just the beginning of a whole new era of galactic chaos and camaraderie.